से 2 मिनट सर सर जॉइन होते हैं. यस.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Shall I start the session?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, good afternoon.
Yes. So, on behalf of UGC Malviya Mission Teachers Training Center, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar, I welcome today's guest, Dr. Ajit Thete, sir, to this afternoon session. Indeed, it is really a pleasure and honor to have him here as a resource person today. So, again, I welcome him and I would now hand over the session to him. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Rafe sir. Thanks to Dr. Dhanashri Mahajan sir, Dr. Rafe sir, for inviting me to this orientation cum sensitization program on the National Education Policy 2020.
Uh, Sir, a little to interrupt, just can you take a mic closer? So
Okay, fine, fine.
audio is a little less.
Okay, I'll take. Now,
Yes.
is it okay? Is it okay?
Now it is less, sir. When you are taking it very close, no, then it is only coming.
Okay, fine. Okay,
Okay.
fine. Now I think it is okay to all of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sir, namaste.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, welcome to all my participants to this program on the orientation and sensitization on the National Education Policy 2020. I'll be sharing with you more details on the education leadership, which is going to be really uh, play very vital role in the implementation of NEP 2020. And in this context, as all of you by this time have geared up with the, I'm sorry, just give me 1 minute. Just give me a minute. I'll share the screen. I'll share the screen. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'll just go. Give me 1 minute. Huh? Some issue with the. Yeah. My PPT is not getting open. Now, is it visible to you?
No, sir.
PPT is not visible? Okay. Oh my God.
No, sir.
Okay. Just give me 1 minute. I don't know what happened today. Is it now visible? Is
Yes,
it
sir.
visible? Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm extremely sorry. So, my dear professor, you're once again welcome to this today's session on academic leadership, governance, and management. This is a really an approach for not only implementing NEP 2020, but today, whatever challenges we see, in the higher education, it will be properly addressed, because the leadership, the education leadership, or we can call it an academic leadership, plays a vital role in the governance and management of the institution. In this context, in the Malviya Mission Teacher Training Program, what outcomes I have planned certain outcomes for today's session. Number one, conceive, design, and implement the concept and fundamentals of academic leadership in educational processes. I know that the word leadership and even the word academic leadership is not new to you. But still, in the changing context, as I said to you, in the NEP 2020, we really need to understand that we as a leader, what type of the leadership we need to really design, and what type of the strategies we need to implement. So it is been planned that by the end of the session, you will conceive the concept of the academic leadership, and even you will be able to implement the all those principles and theories that we are going to discuss in the today's session. Second is develop the attributes of academic leadership. We are all leaders. We are all leaders. But when we talk in the educational context, in the academic context, some add on is required, some addition is required, some uniqueness is required. So this is one of the tasks which we'll be trying to address in the today's session on the developing the attributes of academic leadership. Demonstrate the academic leadership through strategic planning. The way we will be going from slide to slide, we are going to discuss different tools and techniques that are going to be used, like strategic planning, which will be helpful to all of you when you go back to your institution and demonstrate academic leadership at your institution. Then design and develop governance for effective management of higher education. Now we know that the governance play a very vital role in NEP. The Ministry of Education has given the autonomous status to many institutions. You will find in every university there are more and more number of autonomous institutions are coming up. Now, when we are transforming from the affiliated status to an autonomous status, we really need to design a governance system which will achieve the objectives of higher education, and wherein the efforts of all institutions, all faculty members are properly directed towards the objectives of higher education. So how do we really develop and design the governance for the effective management that we are going to see in the today's session? And the last is use different management tools and strategies in the management of higher education. So I need not tell you, but you know very well that today the tool like artificial intelligence has come up. Now, as I said you in the very beginning, the leadership and academic leadership or education leadership is slightly different. In the academic leadership, we have to do something which will help the institution, teachers, students to really implement the teaching learning process in a more effective way. And hence, we need to properly manage the higher education system. No doubt, because of the NAC, National Assessment and Accreditation Council, many of you must have gone to the third cycle or fourth cycle into the NAC. It has really developed some sort of the attributes which are required for the leadership. It has really given us the different directions, different strategies to achieve the quality and education. So here in whole today's session, we are going to address these five outcomes, You can take the snap of this particular slide, so that after going back to your institute, you can take a review, you can take a view of the attainment of these outcomes at your level, at your institute level. Moving far, next, I understand that the audience to whom I'm talking, they are the noble professionals. You all are teachers, are noble profession. Our profession itself is a noble. And national education policy has given us one more opportunity to showcase our ability as a noble professional. We need to work, and hence, I know that all audience, you come from the different faculties. Some of you might be from humanities, some of you might be from science and technologies, and some of you might be from commerce and management. So, while designing this session, this particular uh, discussion with you, I know that the audience comes from the different faculty of our education, like humanities, science and technologies, and commerce and management. Not only that, I know that few of you might be working in the rural area, few of you in the tribal area, some of you in the semi-urban area, some are in urban area, and some are in metro area. Why I'm thinking, or why I'm given considering this particular slide or this demography as such, because when we talk about the education, it may be a school education, or it may be a higher education, or it may be the education which we are talking nowadays of NEP 2020. Demography play vital role, because the type of leadership, the type of governance and management required in the different demography will change from institute to institute, or demography to demography. So I have considered all these rural, tribal, semi-urban, urban, and metro, that some of you might be serving in some of these area. So, dear professor, our target audience of our higher education institutions are mixed and diverse student population. Though you are serving in urban or metro, you know that the student, those who are coming to institution, they might be from rural and urban. The language backgrounds are different. So we have a mixed, diverse student population coming to our institution. And when such type of the students are coming, we really need to concentrate, we need to focus on the overall development of all student community or audience as such. There are individual differences. I know that this term is not new to you, but students either coming from rural or urban area, they have an individual differences in context to social background, economical background, even exposure to the languages, exposure to the different environment, and even the surrounding society. And hence, we as a teacher, when we are teaching student, or when we are planning different strategies during the graduation of the student, we need to even equally consider the individual differences which are there in our students. Then we have to understand the career and life goals of the student. I think by this time you must have experience, and you may agree to me that the audience coming to the institution, the students coming to our institutions, are really not very much clear about their career, what they really want to do after graduation, or even they're not very sure about their life goals. So we as an institution, we as a teacher, we have to idea of this audience when we are directing to them as such. And hence, in this context, we are going to talk and we are going to have a discussion on the different aspects of the uh, education leadership, governance, and management. Obviously, the context of the today's session is the policy guideline and National Education Policy 2020. I know this is might be a third day for your training program, but prior to this, you must have attended various seminars, webinars, and different discussions on the National Education Policy 2020. Friends, with the outcome that we have stated in the very first slide, having known different faculty to which you are serving, having known your demography, and having known to all of us who are our audience to whom we are going to deliver, let us begin step by step on the our topic of discussion: academic leadership, governance, and management. Now, if you see National Education Policy 2020, especially I am focusing on the higher education chapter. This higher education chapter, this policy initiatives is demanding academic and education leadership. And that is what the Ministry of Education, Government of India has come out with this Education Policy 2020. Sorry. There are 14 plus major policy initiatives. If you see from chapter number 11 to 16, you will find in the higher education, NEP 2020 envisions a complete overhaul of India's higher education system, a pre-transformative mandate from governance to research. Governance, as I told you, we are going to have an autonomous institution now in future. We are going to have universities, teaching universities, research universities, and our more and more focus is on research. And hence, it required capable, empowered, and visionary leaders at institutional, as systemic, and at national level. And that's why, as we say, and it is being targeted that by 2035 we want to enhance our gross enrollment ratio up to 50%. So the most important investment which is needed in the education system is developing and empowering the education leader. So looking to these 14 plus major policy initiatives of NEP 2020, which are described in chapter 11 to 16, with one example of target of GR to the level of more than 50%, and the changing governance of the institution, it really requires us to go with the uh, different educational leadership strategies. Now, when we talk about institutional restructuring and graded autonomy, now when we talk about this restructuring part, we required, as I said you, visionary leadership to manage the structural transformation. This is a structural transformation. Many of you must be following new curriculum under NEP 2020. The type of curriculum structure which is been provided by the affiliating university or being followed by the autonomous institution. So this structuring of the curriculum as well as the institution demands a high level of the leadership, visionary leadership. Now the new institutional structure which is coming, and that architecture is nothing but, as I told you sometime before, the universities today, what we can say, state universities, or we call the public universities, or private universities, or deemed to be universities. Now in future the universities or higher education institutions are going to be restructured into research universities, teaching universities, autonomous colleges. So each requiring a distinctive leadership model and strategic planning and cultural change. So new structure which is going to come into that, and as a part of that, a graded autonomy framework will be there. We know that some institutions have opted for autonomy, some institutions are yet to go for that because of the demography, or because of the programs, or because of the might be any sort of the set of capabilities which are required to run the higher education institution. Few institutions may not be able to go immediately to the autonomy. In that context, the institution will be put in the graded autonomy. The academic, administrative, and financial autonomy will be exercised by this institution with the help of some already existing autonomous institute or some university, so that they build the compliance culture and maintain accountability. Why autonomy? Why these universities are coming up? Why this academic, administrative, and financial autonomy is granted to the institution is mainly because of the accountability, quality education. We require quality education. If we are not autonomous, every time we will finger towards the our affiliating university. And we know that as an affiliating university, there are so many challenges and constraints. And when we are now talking of addressing NEP 2020, which calls for quality in education, quality in higher education, and also we have to maintain the accountability, there we required a leadership. And to all of these, either it's a university or an autonomous institution, we have to have a board of governors. So, the empowered independent board of governors will be authority over the institutions. In case of universities, VCs, and in case of autonomous institution, directors. Earlier we used to call them principal. In autonomous status, we call them as a director. Those to be appointed through merit-based process, and that call for the professional academic leadership. So this institutional restructuring and graded autonomy, which is the foundation of NEP 2020, which we have envisioned to have a quality education and enhance our institutions, enhance our research, enhance the GER, and even to make our education more employable, or rather more outcome based. And this demands the visionary leadership to manage these structural transformations. So why this academic leadership is now talked under the NEP 2020? This is one of the reason for that. Sorry. Second part, curriculum reforms and academic bank of credits. This demand academic coordinations, program redesign, and quality management. Now, see, as we discussed in the very beginning, the institution demography is in the rural area, in tribal area, in semi-urban, urban. And if I have to implement the curriculum reform as suggested, as recommended by NEP 2020, we required lot of collaborations. We required to have the collaborations, coordinations, and in real sense enjoy the academic bank of credits, the benefits, so that student in the rural area, that institution or that course may not be available, but due to the academic bank of credit, student can enroll in the other institution and register for that credit. But this all requires really a academic coordination. This talks of the program redesign. We require to redesign the program. And obviously, to manage this curriculum reform and academic bank of credit, we require quality management. Few examples of curriculum reform, which many of you must be knowing, is a flexible and multidisciplinary curriculum. We have observed that we have observed that the rigid curriculum and a curriculum which doesn't have an application which really works in the real world of life. Like for example, my economic students. Now, economic student, when has been given nowadays, economic student required a language, is a knowledge of data sciences. They are also required a knowledge of the industrial finance, industrial economics. Now, when we talk about multidisciplinary, even not only limited to that, but even they require some courses on the sociology. So, the flexibility and multidisciplinary curriculum calls for that. Take another example, a student of commerce and management. If the student is doing a commerce, nowadays he required a knowledge of digital banking. He required digital marketing. Now, when these, he also required data sciences. He required, when he's working in the field of the business management and commerce, he need to have a knowledge on the psychology, isn't it? So the multidisciplinary curriculum need to be designed, and which will help us, the student, to get more employment or start their own business. So herein, to bring in this modification, change in our curriculum, to bring this curriculum reform, we, as I said, we have to redesign our program. And the flexibility, you must have seen or must have gone through one of the report, which was of course long back, 2013. There was one commission which was appointed, National Knowledge Commission. The National Knowledge Commission, wherein it is said that students are not opting for the higher education in India because of two reasons. One, lack of flexibility, and lack of the multidisciplinary curriculum. Students cannot select the courses, subjects of their own choices. Now, suppose we know that we want to increase on one side the gross enrollment ratio, but at the same time, we know that these students, especially, might be from rural or tribal, they also need, because they come from the weaker section, weaker background, economically support is required. If flexibility is provided, which is now one of the provision in the national education policy, that student taking admission to a graduation, he can exit after first year, he will get certificate, he can go and work in the business industry, come back after 1 year, complete second year, then he get diploma after completing second year. Again, if he wish, he can go into the market, gain the experience, gain the knowledge, work, earn the money, and then he can go for the final year bachelor's degree. This flexibility was not possible earlier. But my dear professor, when we talk about designing this type of the flexible curriculum and multidisciplinary curriculum and bring the curriculum reforms into our higher education system, then we require lot of academic leadership. It's, it's all academic coordinations. We need to redesign our programs, and this is what is an academic leadership. Academic leadership talks about the addressing these policies which will help our institution, our country to grow like anything. And that is why we have come out with the national credit framework. You must have seen level credit 1 to credit 9 we are going, which will help us to upgrade the student from level to level, and we can coordinate whatever programs we are giving. Okay, whatever programs we are offering, whatever internship we are going to offering, whatever the credits that we are offering to the student, we can bring them under the criteria of national credit framework. We know and we have experienced that there are institution different institution offering the curriculum, but always it is been talked about, especially when we talk about the NEP 2020. We also talk about the our alignment with the international education, and in the international education there more is talked about the what is the level academic level of the institute of the student which he is learning. And hence the national credit framework, wherein we can put in, like we say that we have a student at certificate level, diploma level, graduation, post graduation, in between that postgraduate diploma, then go to the PhD. So 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. So our education start from level 4 in the higher education, granting the certificate to the students. So national credit framework, which will provide an opportunity to all of you to design the modules of a credit, and these series of modules can bring students after 2 years or 3 years to the level of national credit framework requirement. It may be level 4, 5, 6, or so and to so on here. But to design this type of the curriculum, we required a leadership. And as I told to you, the academic bank of credit student, the flexibility and multidisciplinary curriculum will be more speed up, more can be facilitated to the student community, provided you have a academic bank of credits. I know every one of you who have joined this today's program, your institution must be having account in the academic bank of credit, and I mean to say every student must be having. This is giving addition to the or support to the flexibility and multidisciplinary, where student can opt the courses of other institution, earn the credit, and those will be deposited into his account under the same academic bank of credit. Now this really demands, this required lot of coordination and lot of quality management, so that here it's not only academic bank of credit, but here we also need to guide the students that which are those courses you can offer either in our institution or in another institution, or within our institution to one program to an other program you can, to which you can register. So here we have to talk and we have to guide students, which again talks about the education leadership which is required. Third aspect, third context of the academic leadership to what we are discussing today faculty recruitment, promotion, and development. Now, here it is now NEP 2020 demands transparency, transparent HR leadership, and institutional capacity building. We now need to come out with the present practices of faculty recruitment, promotion, and development. And now, henceforth, merit-based career progression. So, focus is given on the merit-based career progression rather than other parameters as such. So, NEP replaces this rigid cadre structure with performance based advancements. So, leader must design and implement fair, transparent appraisal and promotion policies. We know the current policies that we have. But NEP, since all the time we used to talk about, there is no freedom. There was no freedom earlier. And when we talk about freedom, every time we require the guidelines from the our affiliating university or university grant commission or some statutory council. But under NEP 2020, this type of the initiatives are taken, and we as a teacher, who are the education leader, where you people are going to play a vital role in the education institution, we have to come and work onto that. Second aspect is on the faculty development programs. So, mandatory FDP is required for these all education leaders so that the capacity is continuously developed and we can really have create a culture of professional growth. You know, uh, again, I'm not criticizing anybody or anyone who are connected to me, but generally we used to have induction program, refresher programs, some orientation program, but are they linked with the professional requirement which we discuss in the first column, merit based career progression? So we need to come out with this aspect. And obviously the third point on which is a teaching quality focus. So there's a shift from qualification alone to teaching effectiveness. The academic leaders must redefine assessment metrics and mentoring system for faculty at all stages. So we required that the today there is a disconnect. You can forgive me, excuse me, because you know that there is nothing like a, within the institution or within the department we can find very few examples where the teachers are helping each other, they are mentoring. But now under teaching quality focus of the NEP 2020, we have this aspect. So this third policy initiative, it again demands for the education leadership. Fourth is research and innovation ecosystem. Entire world is now giving significance to the research. Research leadership align with the national priorities. We know we are doing research. We under post graduation or during our research scholar system PhD program, we do the research. We get lot of funding from DST, from UGC, from different organizations. But here, when we talk about research and innovation ecosystem, now definition has changed. The demands have changed. Earlier, research was there for, of course, to the limited scope. And to enhance this scope, you know that already National Research Foundation has been established. This will help everyone of us to do a research in a strategic way with aligned with the national goals. And even not only that, whatever funding will be there, it will be managed through the National Research Foundation so that the impact is ensured. So this research and innovation ecosystem, so we people today, you are working in an institution which is affiliated to the university, you will become autonomous. Tomorrow you may go and start your own universities, and you are going to provide the leadership at different level. And hence we have to have the leadership into this particular area which address to the national goals. Not only that, to enhance the research output outcomes, we require industry academia partnership. When I'm saying industry, doesn't mean only production industry. It may be an agriculture as an industry, business as an industry, or society as an industry. So we have to have the good connect, good connect with our industry target, and we must force sustained partnership with industry, with government laboratories and international bodies to translate research into innovation. And also we require entrepreneurial activities, and that's why these areas we need to cover. That's why academic leadership is more required. As I said to you, the definition of the research has been changed. Definition in the sense the application of that under the NEP 2020, and hence we required to have to build a research culture among the student. And that is one of the reason our bachelor's program we have made honors. So fourth year will be research oriented. So building the research culture which obviously develop the ability among the student, teachers, and all institution leaders, so that we can transform our research, have more and more publications and patents. That will really create a research environment and culture in our institutions. Here we require to take lot of efforts. Dear professors, you will understand, or you may realize now, that when I was talking to you in the initial slides about your faculties from which you are coming and attending this program, the demography under which you are working, and the student to whom we are addressing, in this system, we really need to have a variety of strategies where we can develop a good research culture, because we look to the higher education system as really a backbone of the economy. Hence it may be humanities, it may be a science and technology, or commerce and business management. All these sectors, we need to create the culture and provide a leadership. Next policy initiative, why we required the educational leadership or academic leadership, is a regulatory reforms and internationalization, which demands policy leadership and global vision. There are many examples I know where even rural institutions has got a foreign collaboration, global collaborations. So here, under regulatory reforms and the concept, or the policy initiative of internationalization of the higher education, You know that already the unified regulatory architecture is in place. Very soon, UGC, AICT, NAC, different bodies, statutory bodies, and regulatory bodies will come under single umbrella. Already that bill has been passed in the upper house and lower house. Now you may think that when this is being reformed, when this has been formed, what is our role into that? We must understand these new regulatory reforms. And these new regulatory reforms are developed or has been established so that we can deliver higher level of quality and research, employment, all all statutory bodies have been brought. Of course, there is no Medical Council of India and Bar Council of India as on today, but majority of them have brought under one umbrella so that the higher education can be regulated properly regulated under one single umbrella, and there won't be a trouble, difficulty for the institution to face different regulatory and statutory body and even the accreditation councils. So the unified regulatory architecture, one of that we will have one nation, one subscription. So you need not have to go for uh, going for a uh, enrolling or registering or paying for the publications, journals. It will be provided to you on a one single platform. Not only that, one nation on one data. So you will be there and on the one data, one nation portal where all data will be available to UGC, NAC, AICT, or anybody to which you are assigned. So these regulatory reform must be known to us. They are for the benefit of higher education. Second aspect regarding the internationalization, which has happened is foreign universities are now already established in India. They have already established India. So allowing top global institution to set up campuses, we required institutional leaders with international recognitions, regulatory compliances, and cross cultural management capabilities. So, when foreign universities will come in India, obviously many of the teachers will be from India, and hence, in that context, many of the teachers, many of the institutional leaders will be from India only. So, to cope up with these global universities, we need to really have the leaders with that sort of the abilities, capabilities, where we can have a cross cultural management capabilities as such. And not only that, the other part of the foreign institutions are coming in India, and Indian institutions are going abroad. So many examples, not only IITs or public universities, but private universities, they are also going abroad and establishing the our higher education institution India abroad. So enabling Indian higher education institution to operate global demands, the leader with global brand, and building that acumen, managing with the risk, and diplomatic admission, academic and leadership skills, all is required. See, my dear professors, those who are connected to today's program, today's orientation and sensitization program, at every slide, you will find that we have a greater and greater opportunities to demonstrate as a leadership, to grow, and even to work at national and international level. And for this all reason, NEP talks about the development of academic leadership, governance and management in our faculties, in our teachers. Next, equity, technology and Indian knowledge system. See how this policy initiative is demanding the inclusive, tech savvy and culturally sensitive leadership. This is very important. This is very important that the leadership is a culturally sensitive leadership, Indian knowledge system. I know many of you must have attended some programs on the Indian knowledge system. So when we say that the country is going to become, is now a developing nation, very soon we are going to become a developed nation by 2047. But that is only possible when we address equity and special education zones. Here again, leadership is required. I mentioned you about the tribal education. Yeah, some of you are doing addressing that aspect. But even there are some specific or special education needs are there. We need to bring equity in education, which is yet to address, and hence to address the underprivileged regions, gender, we required to work very differently. We required community oriented education, because to bring the disprivileged people into the more into the education flow, we cannot go with the current system of education. But as I said you sometime before, I mentioned to you about the certificate programs or some small modules which will help them to develop, will adopt certain skills and knowledge which are required, and we can have a community oriented educational leadership. So this is required equally to all of us. Then already we have a national education technology forum, headquarters in New Delhi. You must be knowing about it. And the use of technology, now earlier we used to talk about digital infrastructure online as we are doing today. But now we talk about AI enhanced tool, and that which demand tech savvy academic administration. So the administrators which are there, the National Education Technology Forum has been established in India so that our leader become techno savvy. Okay, doesn't mean that only it is restricted to a digital infrastructure or online education, but also using different tools and platform for governance and management of the institution. AI, using AI tools, so AI enabled tools are to be used, which this forum is going to work into that. And obviously the third atom into this, the sixth policy initiative is Indian knowledge system integration. Somewhere in between, we forgot our richness, our knowledge, our achievements, the research we did in the past, the culture that we have demonstrated to the entire world. And all this is now to have culturally sensitive leadership. We want to brought into as a part of the policy is incorporating Indian knowledge system into the curriculum. And these also required academic leaders so that we can create the curriculum, we can validate and bring in the mainstream across all discipline. It may be history, it may be science, it may be commerce. without without compromising the rigor. We have to very rigorously work on to that. We have to rigorously work because our past history tells and give you a lot of the inputs on the entire world, and that we can utilize, we can once again refresh with those ideas, so that we can have a culturally sensitive leadership which is there. So every aspect, every policy initiatives which talks into that. Then again, the context of academic leadership, governance, and management is mentoring mission and affiliating university reform. Now, when we talk about the nation or national mentoring mission, and when we talk about phasing out of the affiliating system, as I said you in one of these slides, when we talk about restructuring the higher education institution and commit the autonomous institution, here we required a stronger institution, and we need to work more and more to the weaker institution to help them to grow. As I said you sometime before, graded autonomy. So a, the autonomous institution or a university will guide a weaker institution, so that in during mentoring they will develop the abilities and capabilities wherein they will be able to provide a quality education. They'll be able to take a responsibility, ability will be developed, their capabilities will be developed. And that's why the one of the policy initiative is a national mentoring mission, which is the part of the our national education policy 2020. Therein we require people like you, who are being trained, who have the idea of all these things, where you require leadership. So you will find one more facet of leadership which is required here. And as I said to you, very soon the there will be a phasing out of the affiliating system. There won't be affiliated institution as there are today, and now we are going to become a more and more autonomous institution. It was planned actually initially that by 2030 all institution in country will be autonomous, but the speed is going little slow. But good thing is that many more institutions are becoming the autonomous. Those who are autonomous and capable institutions, they are becoming the universities. But then we need to understand that this transformation, this sort of the mentoring mission and reforms in the affiliating universities are to be followed in our system of aspect. So, dear professors, few policy initiatives which we talked about, that governance and leadership, then academic leadership, faculty and HR leadership, research leadership, policy and regulatory leadership, inclusive and technology leadership, and systemic leadership. So this different leadership is required. This is the different, what we can say, I will not say branches of the leadership, but these are the different domains of leadership which we teachers should have, and to implement national education policy, and to see our India as a developed nation, a Vikasit Bharat by 2047. Now, with this background, with this context, and if you can take the photograph of this particular slide, if required, because it tells you in brief what are those leadership abilities one should have: governance, academic, faculty and HR leadership, research, policy and regulatory, inclusive and technology, and systemic leadership. Now, when we talk about this, we remember the quote by John F. Kennedy. It says that leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. That just now we have seen. Earlier, we never thought that teacher is required to work in these different domains. But this quote says that leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. So we all teacher has to upskill ourselves, have to develop our capabilities of academic leadership in different domain, and of course those 7 domains which are listed and discussed in the previous slides as such. And we need to really learn what is really required for the future, because the our favorite APJ Abdul Kalam says, let us sacrifice our life today so that our children can have better tomorrow. All this national education policy is becoming for the developed nation 2047. And why developed nation? Because we know we have so many challenges. We have a challenges of economy. We have a challenges in the field of research, the percentage of the poor people, the rural development, and so many areas. Research you take, innovations, patent, all these things are there, and even doing the cutting edge research, all these things are there. So here we require collaboration. Here required to modify governance. Here we have to do a lot of research. We need to really coordinate, and that's why APJ Abdul Kalam says, let us sacrifice our life today so that our children can have a better tomorrow. Dear professors, that's why I said you in the beginning, our profession is a noble profession. We have to sacrifice so that tomorrow's society get the benefit of all these things. Let us move ahead step by step. And when we talk on this, obviously, we must now go back and see, in the light of National Education Policy 2020, the concept to the policy agenda, we will see, and you will realize at the end of 4 5 slides that NEP is nothing but is the what our forefathers, our Indian philosophers talk about the education. And I think if we try to understand the concept of education, then it will be better to all of us to demonstrate the leadership, to implement, design, and develop the leadership attributes as such. So let us go one by one. See the concept of education. You may ask me, you may thinking that why sir is going back to the concept of education. I just wanted to share with you the our philosophical thoughts of Mahatma Gandhi, Swami Vivekananda, Rabindranath Tagore, and others, Arvindo, APJ Abdul Kalam, on the concept of education. And there we will find that in the past, I think we miss the leadership capabilities. And that's why now we are required to work more rigorously. Now, what Mahatma Gandhi says, education is development of body, mind, and soul. If you try to relate this theme, this concept of education according to Mahatma Gandhi ji, now body means skills. We know that today how there is a significance of skills. We have seen and we have realized that if the student is highly educated but lack of skills, vocational skills, soft skills, he is not able to perform in the real world. So what Mahatma Gandhi ji says, education is development of body. Skills are very important. Mind, intellectual abilities. We talk about research. We talk about application of a knowledge through multidisciplinary education. So that mind we need to develop so that the student can apply the learned knowledge in a real life situation in the variety of career opportunities and directly benefiting to himself and to the society at large. And soul, since we talk about Indian culture, so the soul, our affectiveness toward the nation, towards the society, towards the job, towards the research, towards the parent, towards the society, all need to develop. So, this is what also being part of the national education policy. So, if you just try to understand this concept of education by Mahatma Gandhi ji, that education is a development of body, mind, and soul. You will find the reflection of this concept in NEP 2020. Swami Vivekananda said that education is the manifestation of divine perfection which already exists in the human being. Again, go back to NEP policies. There you will find flexibility in the education. So, in the flexibility, which is one of the policy initiative, and NEP 2020 is giving opportunity to select the courses subject of their own choices. Teacher can guide. We have an academic bank of credit where student will be properly mentored and guided by the teacher to offer the courses, and he can joyfully, happily complete the program. Not only that, the flexibility in terms of exit after first year, again entry, if want again exit after second year, again come back and exit after third year. Here we can provide the education, we can provide the module, we can provide the courses which are really as per the divine perfection which already exists in the human being. Now we know that majority of the students get attracted to the engineering, medical, but are you really they are interested into that, or they are running into the that blow, running into that race without having. So we need to, the mentoring is required, and that is what is said by the Swami Vivekananda, which is also reflected in NEP 2020. Rabindranath Tagore says that the highest education is that which does not merely give us information but make our life harmonious to all existence. So, is that education, is that only degree? We know. Earlier, a decade before, we used to talk that 25% students are only graduates, sorry, graduates are only getting job. Now that has reached between 40% to 50%. So, you will find now the curriculum reforms which are taken place, the outcome based education which is brought into the policy initiatives under NEP 2020. It is one of the reflection of the concept of education by Rabindranath Tagore, which says that highest education is that which does not merely give us a information but make our life in harmonious with all existence. Outcome based education, this you will find in the curriculum. Let us see one more definition which is a given by C Arbindo. Education is meant to bring out the best in a man, to develop his potentialities to the maximum, to integrate him with himself, his surrounding, his society, his country, and humanity, to make him the complete man, the integral man. See, dear professor, those who are connected here, you will find the curriculum reforms and the policy initiatives for development of holistic personality. Here focus is given on the developing the potentialities to the maximum. So a courses on skill development, internship, experiential learning, value education, ethics, internships, research, quality research, and even when we go with National Research Foundation, the research which is really required to the country. So the NEP 2020, why it asking for a leadership, academic leadership, you will find that it is again a reflection of what C. Arbindo mentioned about the education, that education is meant to bring out the best in the man, to develop his potentialities to the maximum, to integrate him with himself, his surrounding, his society, his country, and humanity, to make him the complete man, the integral man. My dear professor, why I'm sharing these 2 3 slides with you, you will find that earlier our philosopher also were of the so same opinion, but we didn't thought of the type of leadership which would be required, which would have been useful for transforming this concept into the realities. And that's why NEP 2020 is helping us to developing our new nation, Vikasit Bharat 2020. So, in general, education is the process of facilitating the learning or the acquisition of knowledge, skills, values, morals, beliefs, and habits. So, through the curriculum reform, we are going to address this aspect into in the real aspect, and thereby see the NEP 2020 having these all policy initiatives and having discussed the fundamental philosopher, those talked about the concept of education. See the objectives of higher education. This is not new. The Bologna process, which was initially was limited to the European countries, but when India became a part of the globalization, globally it was accepted that what should be the objectives of higher education. So when we are delivering our duties as an educational leader or an academic leader, we must know the objectives of higher education, which will guide us, which will help us, which will support us to provide quality education, meaningful learning, and Vikasit Bharat 2047. Number first objective is preparing for employment. Second, preparing for life as an active citizen in a democratic societies. Number three, personal development. And number four, the development and maintenance of broad, advanced knowledge base. My dear professors, this is these are the objectives of higher education which are accepted globally. All countries in the world has accepted these objectives of higher education. Then we need to work, or rather, again we need to streamline our educational processes to achieve this objective. For achieving these objectives, preparing the graduate for their employment, not only for the job, but preparing for life, which we say about Arbindo just now, as an active citizen in democratic society. Equally true for leadership, we also require personal development to work as an employee or even as a member of a family or as an entrepreneur. Personal development is very much required, and the developmental and maintenance of a broad and advanced knowledge base. My dear professor, these objectives of higher education, which are globally accepted, which have been given, I have provided you the link. You can visit that particular link. A Bologna report, final report, which talks about the objectives of higher education, which are globally accepted, and they are reflected in National Education Policy 2020. Rather, NEP 2020 is demanding the academic leadership from we all, so that we'll be able to meet the objectives of higher education. And that is why the vision of NEP 2020 is, the vision of the policy is to instill among the learners a deep rooted pride in being Indian, IKS, not only in thought but also in spirit, intellect, and deeds, as well as to develop knowledge, skills, values, and dispositions that support responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development and living, and global well being, thereby reflecting truly global citizen. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. See the vision of NEP 2020 in this background, my dear professors. This is the vision, and that's why we need to work little differently as we used to do initially. Because I'm also a teacher, I also perform my duties as a teacher. But when we visit such type of the thoughts, such type of the policy document, you will find that how this leadership role is going to be very important. So though I'm talking on the context, how this leadership, at the same time, I'm also telling you or giving you a direction, the domains in which we require the leadership to be demonstrated when we go and we work in the higher education ecosystem. So here the vision is very important. We want them rooted pride in being Indian. That's why we are teaching them Indian knowledge system. But not only in the thought, but also in spirit. We must have a spirit of being Indian and even being a global citizen. Intellectual. So whatever intellectual deeds, whatever research and whatever patenting that we are doing, as well as develop knowledge, skills, values for a responsible commitment in human rights, sustainable development and living, and global well-being, thereby reflecting truly global citizen. This is our vision, and in that vision, my dear professor, we need to work and we need to add and develop our abilities into that. Similarly, we talk about sustainable development goal, and my focus is on SDG number 4, education is a force multiplier which enables self-reliance, boost economic growth by enhancing skills, and improve people's lives by opening up opportunities for better livelihood. We want our economic index should go high. We know we have a poor people, poor society, disadvantaged group. So when we are demonstrating the leadership, we equally need to address all sustainable development goal, but here I'm focusing on sustainable development goal 4, which align with the national education policy 2020, is force multiplier which enables self-reliance. If you read NEP 2020 document, focus is given on the self-reliance, boost economic growth by enhancing skills, and improve people's lives by opening up opportunities for better livelihood. We want drinking water, roti, kapda, or makan. This thing, the quality of life we want to do, and that's why the leadership is required. And education is the process, as we have seen in one of the side on the slide, that it will give the facilitate the overall development of the student to the which will benefit or serve to the society. In this context, in this context, we have to develop the 5 types of the minds. As said by APJ Abdul Kalam sir, to have this, we want disciplinary minds. If I'm a man of a sociology or economics, or if I'm a man of a chemistry or legal education, I must have that disciplinary mind. But that disciplinary mind has to be creative in nature. And that's why in NEP 2020, we have changed, we have brought the experiential learning, and we have also brought research component, internship, projects into the curriculum, because disciplinary minds are not alone sufficient. We have to have a creative mind. Third mind is synthesizing mind. You must be able to synthesize. Suppose I'm a man of a economics. I've been posted. I've been got a job in a suppose say mechanical engineering industry. Then how I can apply my theoretical knowledge of economics in a creative way to synthesize with the finance of the mechanical industry, mechanical engineering industry. Same is in the case of health science. Same is the case of a sociology. Same in the case of a commerce and business management. So the business, there are a variety of businesses are there. We learn commerce and we learn business management. But going beyond that, we have to synthesize them with the agricultural business, import export business, logistic business. So we need to apply that. And that's why APJ Abdul Kalam used to say that we must have 5 types of minds: disciplinary mind, creative mind, synthesizing mind. Fourth mind is ethical mind. Again, reflected in the NEP 2020 and even our curriculum, value education. Ethics is very important to be successful in your personal life, in your social life, and even organizational or professional life. And that's why to have ethical mind, ultimately you should have a respectful mind. Respectful mind, respect for self, respect for colleagues, parents, society, disprivileged group, organization, nation, and global. So through NEP 2020, With this background of decision discussions, we, as said by APJ Abdul Kalam sir, we have to develop 5 types of minds when the students are coming to our institution, so that they can be self-reliant, and at the same time they can contribute to the national and global development. So, as said by the APJ Abdul Kalam, the purpose of education is to make good humans with school with sorry with skills and expertise. Enlightened human beings can be created by teachers. See what APJ Abdul Kalam said, that the purpose of education is to make good humans with skills and expertise. An enlightened human being can be created by teachers. And that is why we have to go back into the role of a teacher, a noble role, and we have to demonstrate the academic leadership when you go in the world of work. Friends, we are going to continue with this basic understanding, and now we are coming to the aspect of developing leadership in education. Till now, up till now, we discuss the context of our today's uh, session, and while discussing the context, we have also seen what are the different domains and what are those different leadership capabilities are required. Then we slightly shift to the understanding our Indian knowledge system, what our Indian philosopher talks about the education, what is the concept of education according to them. And while doing so, we have tried to relate with the NEP 2020 policies. And we have now seen also the vision of NEP 2020, the requirement of Sustainable Development Goal 4. Now I'm going from unknown to known, because you are all professors, you are teaching in a class. So I should not go from a basic fundamental concept of education, but I am going from unknown to known. Just I have created the scenario of the future educational leaders, or we can say current education leaders, and now we will talk, because now our future talk will become very easy when we are deliberating from slide by slide. My dear professor, we will take 5 minutes bio break. It is now almost 4 o'clock, 3:59 to be more accurate. We will again join. Of course, all will remain connected, but you can take a bio break. We will start once again 5 past 4 immediately after 5 minutes. Bio break for 5 minutes. Thank you. Yes, welcome back to the session. I think the further discussion on the different aspects of the education leadership will be more easy in the background of the discussion that we had. Let us begin the fundamentals of the educational leadership as a part of developing leadership in education. Now we have to see really why students take admission in HEI, why do we teach, and what is the expected outcome of this combined effort. So when we say education leadership, the fundamental three questions: why students take admission in HEI, you know very well. Why do we teach? Of course, policy is telling us, the concept of education is telling us. And what is the expected outcome of this combined effort? So when we talk of leadership and academic leadership, just see what it is. Leadership is any activities tied to the core work of the organization that are designed by the organizational members to influence the motivation, knowledge, affect, or practice of other organizational members. This is generally, you many of you must be knowing the definition of leadership. Now, what is academic leadership? It is the process of enlisting and guiding the talent and energies of teachers, pupil, and parent towards achieving common educational aim. This is a broader definition of academic leadership. We all are, what we are doing is a process of enlisting and guiding the talent and energies of teacher, pupils, and parents towards achieving common educational aim. Whatever we do, we really have to put them under the part of the leadership and academic leadership. As say quickly, as we have seen, even the how the NEP 2020 has emerged as such. Okay, so let us see emergence of leadership in education. Demands were made on HEI for higher level of people's achievement, and HEIs are expected to improve and reform. Expectations accompanied by call for accountability at higher education institute level. Administration and management are terms that imply stability through exercise of control and supervision. The concept of leadership was favored because it conveys dynamism and proactiveness. So here we require more dynamic nature, and that's why the instead of administration and management having control and supervisor, we talk about the leadership nowadays. Again, just quickly generate results and achieve your organization vision through change focused leadership. Now, under the NEP 2020, We have to generate the result and achieve your organization vision. That's why academic leadership is there. Foster productivity by designing work practices, routines, systems, and structures, what we call the governance and management. Engage people from across culture, backgrounds, and languages through effective communication. Cultivate empowerment, resiliency, integrity, and growth through your personal development and development of others, and obviously develop skills, knowledge, research, attitude, whatever you call, so that there will be a transformative effect. So, why this academic leadership is that what we talk about that? Now, when we talk about leadership in general and education leadership in specific, quickly we'll move. We are not going to give much emphasis on this. But when we are developing the leadership, leadership is the process of influencing individuals toward shared goals. Involves vision, motivation, and decision making. Focuses on organizational effectiveness and performance. And leadership is influence rather than an authority. This is a concept of leadership in general. So, leadership does require everywhere. Leadership does require everywhere, and that's why, because it creates, it involves vision, motivation, decision making, etc., etc. Now, to add that also, how do we define it? The Peter Drucker says that raising vision and performance to higher standards. See, the leadership. Warren Bennis said that translating vision into reality. John C. Maxwell Tag says that leadership is influence. We're just trying to understand how really the word is moving and how they are being really conceptualized in our system. These are the core leadership competencies: strategic thinking and vision building, communication and interpersonal effectiveness, ethical decision making, team building and collaboration, change management and innovation. Word all these are very clear. That's why I'm not elaborating. I'm going to elaborate more when we talk about a education leadership in specific. So, a core element of a general leadership, if vision and strategic direction, influence and motivation, decision making ability, communication skill, ethical responsibility, team building, and change management. See, dear professor, we as a leaders, we also have to have these elements in our leadership as such. Now, when we talk about a educational leadership, leadership focus on improving teaching and learning, integrate pedagogy with the institutional governance, promote academic excellence and student success, builds learning centered institution. See the difference. Of course, there is a slight difference between the concept of leadership in general and in educational leadership. Here, when we talk about academic leadership, all educational leadership, it talks about improving teaching and learning, pedagogy integrating with the institutional governance, promoting academic excellence and student success, and builds learning center institution. That is what is the concept of educational leadership. The definition or the perspective of educational leadership: leadership improves teaching and learning outcomes. Leadership drives educational change, which is required now, and focus on learning, culture building, and institutional development. See, you will find the perspective of educational leadership that here we really want to improve the teaching and learning, but at the same time, we have to have drive the educational changes which are required in the today's context. We have to focus on learning, culture building, and continuous development of the institution as such. So, when we talk of dimension of educational leadership, it has got instructional leadership, improving classroom practices. So, we required leadership in instructional, transformational leadership, inspiring institutional change. You will be the change agent. You will bring transformation from affiliated institute to the autonomous institute, to autonomous institute to the university, and so on. So, inspiring institutional change. Then, distributed leadership, shared academic responsibility. We have seen in many organizations only one, two, three, or four people are working. Sometimes leader himself is a very autocratic leader. But here, for the leadership, what we expect is a shared academic responsibilities so that we all together can develop ethical leadership, values, and social responsibility. As we say, ours is a noble profession. We bear the responsibility of the society so that we can give a good outcome of higher education or education for that reason. And as a governance leadership, policies and compliance to the requirement. So, as we have seen sometime before, if you remember those seven types of the leadership or dimensions or domains of leadership, which we have seen in one slide based upon the policy, you will find these are the different dimensions of educational leadership which is in demand. When we compare this with the general and educational leadership, general leadership talk about productivity and organizational growth, whereas educational leadership talk about student learning and institutional quality. General is market driven outcome, whereas in education it is a learner centered and value based outcome. See the comparison between leadership in general and educational leader in specific as such. Now, when we talk about faculties and academic leaders, people like you and me who are joined this program, faculty influence students' learning experiences. Okay, for providing instructional leadership, the way you design the learning experiences that influence the learning. Design innovative pedagogy and assessment, mentor students and junior faculty, contribute to institutional quality and accreditation. See, as a faculty, as an academic leaders, how we can contribute and how we can perform our role and how we can develop our capabilities to align with these leadership requirement. When we talk about leadership in teaching learning process, we required outcome based education implementation. In NEP 2020, our focus is on outcome based education. I do conduct programs on the outcome based education, deliver a talk in our Malviya mission training programs also. But this outcome based education, we need to develop the leadership into that. We have to implement that. Then active and experiential learning methods. We have to go with a very innovative teaching method, giving more and more real life experiences to students. Use of technology and AI in education. And instead of a summative assessment, you have to go for a continuous assessment and feedback culture, isn't it? Because it's not that whether student pass or fail. Very important is whether he has gained the competencies, whether he has developed the competencies, whether he can perform in real life examination. And that's why we require a leadership at assessment centers also. When we talk about this particular FDP, which we are planning or which we are now ongoing, we also going to have talked about academic planning and curriculum innovations. Okay. So, in our context of today's session, research culture development, interdisciplinary collaboration, quality assurance, and accreditation readiness. So, the leadership in the context of NEP 2020, which we are trying to deliver through this particular session, you can apply in these different four domain when we talk about this FDP as such. You will get the input on this session from these slides, from our discussion about the academic planning and curriculum innovations, research culture development. We have seen how the interdisciplinary collaboration is required and how the quality assurance and accreditation readiness is required. So, to conclude on this fundamental concept, not conclusion of this particular session, leadership shapes organizational success. Educational leadership transforms learning ecosystems. That is what we have to do. Faculty are key drivers of academic leadership, and effective leadership ensure sustainable institutional excellence. So, when we talk of a very fundamental concept of educational leadership, you will find that how the leadership is useful, applicable when we work in the different situations. Let us move ahead and see few more fundamentals. Okay, because the leadership as required by higher education teacher to demonstrate leadership in academics and education, lead, inspire, transform. So when we do this, what is really an academic leadership? Dear professor, I'm going to make you aware or introduce with different concepts of academic leadership. Academic leadership is the capacity of a teacher and faculty member to influence, inspire, and mobilize students, peers, and institution toward the pursuit of excellence in teaching, research, and service, while upholding ethical values, fostering inclusion, and driving constructive change in the educational ecosystem. And that's why we require self leadership, people leadership, and system leadership. See, another concept or another type of the academic leadership or the leadership which is being part of the educational leadership. So, to develop, to deliver a academic leadership in the institution, self leadership is important. Inner discipline, values, self awareness, and continuous learning. Only if we develop, we can develop the people and we can develop the system. So, to contribute to this noble cause, first we have to focus on the self leadership, then to people leadership, mentoring students, inspiring colleagues, and building the teams. Not that few, as I said you sometime before, 3 4 people coming together and doing something. No, we need to provide and mentor the students. We have to build the teams. We have to inspire the colleagues, because by this time you have realized that what type of the leadership, what type of the challenges, and what type of the responsibility that we have to bear when we are performing the role of a teacher as such. And third type of the leadership is system leadership, institutional governance, which we talk about, policy, participation, curriculum reform. These are the system leaderships are required. So we as a teacher or a faculty, we need to focus on all these three types of leadership: self one, people, student and faculty, and our system, the institution, governance, policy, procedure, our curriculum as such. So every higher education teacher must cultivate visionary thinking, integrity and ethics, communication mastery, emotional intelligence, critical decision making, mentoring and coaching, collaborative leadership, adaptability and resilience, accountability and quality, and inspirational presence. So, we all, when we are performing as a self leader, people leader, and system leader, we require and we need to cultivate these 10 ability about amongst ourselves. Okay. Those which already we have discussed, but again we will discuss in the next discussion as such. So we have to have a visionary thinking. Very important to have a integrity and ethics, effective communication, mastery on the communication, emotional intelligence is required, and so on. Let us quickly visionary thinking and strategic direction. See the essence, the ability to see beyond the present and chart a purpose, purposeful path forward. A visionary teacher leader articulate a compelling picture of what education can achieve for student, the institution, and society. Vision gives direction to daily decisions and inspires others to strive. Why required visionary thinking and strategic direction? So, we as a leader, we as a teacher, we must set an academic vision, strategic planning in curriculum, and future readiness orientation. So, as an academic vision setting, we'll have to define what are the long term goals of the institutions or a department or a program, which are to be aligned with the NEP 2020 mandate of multidisciplinary learning, research culture, outcome based education, etc., etc., etc. And for that, when we do this in the design as well as for the implementation, we require strategic planning in curriculum. Whatever academic vision you have set, to translate that vision into actionable curriculum, we need to properly have an agenda, how you are going to have your curriculum, how you are going to really develop student plans, how you are going to meet the short term goals or short term demands, long term educational transformation. All systematically we have to go when you are designing a curriculum. And you should have a future readiness orientation. We have to anticipate that what are the future emerging discipline, what are the shift in the business and industry, what are the societal needs, and we have to proactively redesign the courses and competencies so that students remain future ready in a rapidly changing world. So fundamental one is a visionary thinking and strategic direction in which you should work. Fundamental two is integrity, ethics, and value based leadership. We have to develop that. The moral bedrock on which all other leadership qualities are resting. Integrity means consistent alignment between values and action. You have your mission, you have your vision, but are you aligning with the values and action with respect to your mission and vision? For a teacher leader, ethical conduct in grading, research, governance, and personal interaction build the trust, and that make leadership credible and lasting. So dear professor, here we have to have a academic integrity, and that's why we also talk about anti-plagiarism culture, fairness and transparency in evaluation, and do ethical research and social responsibility. These terms are itself clear, are very much easy to understand. But here we have to, when we talk about the evaluation, fairness, and all these things, we have to focus on the outcome based education, of holding the objectives, outcome, having criteria, reference assessment, and based upon that, you have to have reduce the biases and give a student about what really he has got, where he is lacking, and you have to evaluate the clearly the criteria, and that is how we have to work so that student can trust in our assessment, and they will have a, even the society will have a credibility in our assessment part. So even doing the research, the honesty is important. Developing the classroom culture, we require really an academic integrity is very required, where we can really transform the student's life. Third fundamental is a communication mastery, pedagogical communication, active listening and feedback culture, and as I said, persuasion and advocacy in institutional spaces. We have to have use a variety of a pedagogy, because there are, when we talk about the teaching in a class, there are sometimes simple concepts, and there are certain sometimes the concepts are very complex. So how you elaborate those, how do you adapt your communication style and give a learner variety of learning experiences through visual, verbal, sometime in experiential mode, which will really develop student to understand, and in a real way, in a genuine way. So pedagogical communication is a is important when we talk about a fundamental competency of three: listening and feedback culture, active listening. Get the feedback from the student, talk to colleague, talk to student, talk to parent. Okay, give them chance to talk through your feedback mechanism, through peer team review. And all the time you have to see that our institution is developing based upon this, communicating our leadership abilities, and see that teacher as a leader can communicate very clearly with empathy, and which will have very significant impact on addressing the student needs effectively. And that's why we have to design different institutional spaces in our institution, different clubs, different committees, different policies. So communication is very important because the power of articulate, listen, and pursue and connect is with the entire audience. He may be student, teacher, parent. We need to add off into that. Fourth is emotional intelligence. As we said, in self leadership, self awareness, and self regulation. Empathy in student and peer relationship, social skills and relationship management. So we have to recognize the personal triggers, biases. Okay, and based upon that we have to regulate our self awareness as well as self regulation, where we can really create a inclusive environment. We can see that the students are not being biased, and there is nothing conflict in the institutional change as such. So that's sort of the abilities that we need to develop when we talk on the emotional intelligence as such. Critical and collaborative decision making, fundamental 5. We must should have a evidence based curricular decision, as we discuss. And again I am saying about evidence based curricular decision. My institution is in a rural area or a tribal area, or the background of my student is something like that, but I requires this education outcome, these learning outcomes. So we must be able to develop and have a critical and collaborative decision making, so that we can create a good curriculum delivery, which student will get and they will absorb and they will develop themselves. And this has to be brought into the our academic planning too. Many times there is sort of complex situations. It may be students misconduct, it may be research related, some issues are there, or all many times we have a resource issues are there. So when you have a participative decision making, teamwork decision making, you have proper consulting relevant voices, student, parent, teachers, then we should have a very ethically we can go through that dilemma. And that is to be very well we'll have to do when we do into the as a leader in the institution. And obviously, as I said to you in the previous point, consultative and democratic decision processes has to be there. Not that you know only, you have to take everyone into the confidence when we work into the aspect. Mentoring, coaching, and developing others. The art of drawing out the best in every student and colleague. We should have a structured academic mentoring. Mentorship is required. I'm just giving an example. my dear professor. Right now, I am with JSPM University Pune. We have 8,500 students, 450 faculty, and there are guardian faculty mentors are there. One faculty mentor 20 students, and they take every progress of the student. If at all they remain absent in the class, they take the note of their learning difficulty. So we have to have very structured academic mentoring for students as well as teacher. Teacher also required a proper mentoring as such. Those junior teachers, they required newly joined, so that we can really track their goals. Many people, it so happen that when we are selecting the courses, when the flexibility is given to them, even doing so also the mentorship is very much required. So to support the holistic academic and personal growth, all these three dimensional, personal growth, academic growth, and resource requirement, we'll have to provide a academic mentorship to the student, research mentorship, and career guidance. Research, we talked about that research must be a quality research. But now the research component is not only limited to the postgraduate study and PhD. Now also we have undergraduate study where we are going to have a research component. So a research mentorship is required because it develop a design thinking ability among the student, solving the problem using tools and technology. At the same way, they required the mentoring in the career guidance. So many students, as I told you in very beginning, that students are really not very much known about their future, their career goal and life goal. Here we require to properly guide students, their leadership is required about them. So when we talk about this mentoring and coaching and developing others as an attribute of an academic leader, research mentorship and career guidance is essential. And of course, peer mentoring and faculty development. To your colleagues, mentoring the junior colleagues in their pedagogy, in research, in the institutional navigation, in the participating in the different activities including NEP, we required that a proper mentoring has to be done. And as a leader, you have to demonstrate this particular ability. Seventh fundamentals of academic leadership is a collaborative and distributed leadership. My dear professor, we are discussing these attributes in context to the academics, in context to the academic institution, educational leadership. So, when we talk about the aspect of flexibility, multidisciplinary education, research, we really require to have a collaborative and distributed leadership. Okay. Now, when we talk of this, we say that in a interdisciplinary, which really help us for a productive working relationship. You are from the commerce, you are working with the science and technology, or science and technology working with humanities. This across the department working or across the discipline is essential for designing the multidisciplinary program in ICAS integration and community projects, which is envisioned in NEP 2020. So to have this, we require to work into that, and to have obviously interdisciplinary team building, sheer governance participation is required. actively contribute to the academic council, curriculum committee, IQSC, all these bodies, and we have to contribute into that. So you have to participate and demonstrate your leadership responsibility rather than the administrative burden. So when you work into this area, then and then only we can work and we can develop, and even we go for either interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary or research area, we require to have a industry and community or sometime international partnership, and that is what we require to develop in ourselves. Friends, when we talk of NEP, first that we have to learn of adapting to the change, keeping patience, and become a change leader, isn't it? So the NEP 2020 has given so many policy initiatives. It may be flexibility is there, credit system is there, we have entry exit is there, we have a multidisciplinary is there. So many initiatives are there into that. Very importantly, we need to adopt rather than resisting these changes. These are for the benefit of the society. And also, not only that, we have to help your colleagues and students to navigate this transition very confidently. So, first is our NEP part where you have to get adapt to yourself. And as it is being said that India's most sweeping education transformation, teacher leader must not merely survive change but champion it. And that is where we have to have a learning agility and continuous upskilling. Here we have to unlearn certain things which we have learned, and you have to have a lifelong learning ability. That ability we need to develop and have new concepts, new technology, new subject knowledge which is coming by, and this you can develop by at your own or by attending FDP or online MOOC or and so on and so on. And obviously we have to do this and be a part of a change leaders. You have to provide leadership, you have to provide help the student, you have to see that more and more research, more and more better performance of the student, more and more implementation of the course more effectively, and that is where you have to work into that. This talks about the one more fundamental of academic leadership is a accountability, quality, and continuous improvement. Outcome-based courses ownership. Accountability comes, as I said you, outcome-based education. NEP 2020 has asked us to go with the outcome-based education approach. So we are accountable that by the end of graduation, student design set of competencies, what we call a program outcome. By the end of the course, this student attain those ability by the end of the course. We call them as a course outcome. So measuring the learning outcome with rigor, analyze the gap very honestly, and on the basis of that, redesign the teaching learning process, design the teaching methodologies, and make students learn by their own, moving from I taught to they learned it. And this is very important. So one fundamental of this academic leadership in the context of NEP 2020 is you have to develop a vision of outcome based course ownership. That accountability is important into that. Obviously, to have a quality and continuous improvement, we have to go for the NAC, NBA, internal quality assurance. You should have your own different tools and techniques, not limited to triple A. Go for ISO, have internal audit team, go for academic monitoring of your own institution by external monitoring of the institution, because accountability is what separate intentions from impact. Teacher leader who own their results, not just their effort, create culture of excellence. Okay, and that becomes an habit of all of us. And that's why you have to have a very transparent performance and self-assessment. We do have the performance appraisal system, but can we have a some portfolio we can maintain? Can we have really a peer observations? And we can go with a 360-degree feedback mechanism which will demonstrate the accountability, and that is expected in NEP 2020. I know, my dear professors, we are talking lot in depth about the requirement through NEP 2020, but this is essentially required when we go for the uh, delivering and making deliberations on the education. And of course, one of the last fundamental is inspirational presence and transformational influence. Okay, so all these things, so our leadership, this is you which who are going to create the meaning and purpose in the learning. You have to inspire them, connect academic content to larger human questions, social challenges, and students' aspirations. So, this is what we need to really create the meaning and purpose in the learning. As it has been said, education is not a degree, it's a purpose of life. So, it's not mere a degree. Education is not a mere a degree, it is a purpose of life. So, you have to create that into that, and that is very fundamental when you are working as a leader into that. Modeling excellence and intellectual passion. All the time you have to practice excellence, excellence, and excellence. As we say and we discuss about the our target audience, our demography, and our discipline, we need to find out the approaches and bring genuine enthusiasm, curiosity, and mastery by the classroom and research demonstration. We have to really develop them, bring very scholarly life, rich life into the students, and that is where we require and the leadership as such. And of course, my dear professor, it requires a legacy and institutional cultural building. I have experience in my life good institution, good teamwork, and really my teachers, my senior colleagues have motivated me, they have guided me, they have inspired me, and that's why we could really contribute in the development of culture in the institution. There's a huge responsibility, and whatever change is being anticipated through NEP 2020, we are not only responsible, but we are accountable for that. And that in that context, we need to work. So, the leadership fundamentals, this is a framework. You can take the snap of this particular slide. Inner foundation, relational practices, and systemic impact. What we discussed sometime before: self leadership, people leadership, and system leadership. As a self leadership or inner foundation, visionary thinking, integrity and ethics, and emotional intelligence. Very important. When we talk about people leadership or relational practices, communication mastery, mentoring and coaching, collaborative leadership, and inspirational profession. When we talk about systemic impact, critical decision making, adaptability and resilience, and accountability and quality. All this we have to do, and then only, as it is said, we can, from a good teacher to great academic leader, we can become. So commit to self development across all 10 fundamentals what we discuss about. Seek mentors and become one simultaneously. Engage with institutional governance as a leader, not as a bystander. Treat every interaction as an opportunity to inspire. Hold yourself accountable to students' outcomes, not just syllabus coverage. Champion NEP 2020 reform with courage and consistency. So, friends, these 10 fundamentals on which we have to work and we'll be working in our system to develop. Now we are going to the towards the closing of this session, not immediately, still 30 minutes we have to go, and we are also going to see the different aspects of the educational leadership which will help us in true sense in developing and delivering the academic leadership among the society. And for that, planning is important. All we have seen 10 fundamentals. We talk about self leadership, people leadership, we talk about system leadership, but we need to go a very strategic way. So, relax, take a long breath, talk to self. After going back, family, friends, and mentor, take some time and write it. We are talking on the self life goals, mission, vision, policy, and mandate. We need in this background, we have now one background of NEP 2020, the policy initiatives which we discussed. Then we have a background of a philosophy of education, Indian philosophy of education. We have a background of the vision of NEP 2020 and Sustainable Development Goal 4. We know what is or who is education leader, what fundamental should have with the education leaders as a self leaders, as a people leader, and as a system leader. And for that, my dear friends, we have to give time to self. Design your self life goals. Begin with your own self, your mission. What is your vision? To reach to your vision and follow the mission and reaching to your life goals, design the policy and have some mandate. You can use these tools for your self development. Self leadership, you can use who am I? Talk to self. We hardly talk to our own self. Talk, talk, talk. What you are, where you want to go, how you are doing, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what opportunities that you can grab, what challenges. which is making you or taking you behind. Define the purpose of life and career, what you are, mission, what you want to be, vision, set the plan, policy, mandate, action plan, search for your hobby and sustain it. It's very important, my dear professor. When I am saying it, second stage, explore self, you have to explore your hobbies, where you are really will get a happiness. Search for your hobby and sustain that. It will double motivate you, it will inspire you, it will give you more and more idea. And monitor and review your plan periodically. So self development is very essential. As been said, as we have seen, self leadership. So we have to have self development, which is very important, in which we need to develop. And we can use different tools into that. You can use brainstorming, or doing defining mission, or strategic planning. You can use different techniques. You can define your mission, you can have a strategic planning approach, whatever, you can do different approaches into that. Now from self, now we are moving to the world. So me and the world. So when we are self leadership, we are developing me and my family, my society, my profession, my organization, my nation, and the world. So when we are moving from self leadership to system leadership through the people leadership, we'll have to think about me and the world, because you are very important. How you can really helpful to yourself, to your family, to the society, to the profession, what type of leadership you can provide. And this is my own concept. I say that we can really demonstrate better if we think better. So these will give you more and more inputs and idea for providing the leadership as such. So focus on me and organization, because you is important. In entire life you work with some organization. Through that organization only we learn some good things, we have some bad experiences, we mentor, we guide, we unlearn those bad experiences, and we develop ourselves. So focus, my dear professor, on me and organization. And now go for strategically. So to develop this planning aspect, we'll have to go very strategically. We have to plan very strategically. This journey is inspiring, this journey is motivating, this journey is challenging, and sometimes it is painstaking. But if we go very systematically, scientifically, and strategically, we can reach to the cause of our profession, which we call the noble profession, our teaching profession. What is mission? Many times we talked about the mission. So, strategic way we have to go. It might be my own mission or my organization mission. And when we design a mission, we see that what is the organization? Why do you exist? What is the purpose of being in existence? What are the organizational values? And how the organization is distinct from others? So, mission is not just some lines, but it talks about the organization. Why do you exit? I exit. My existence is there for education and research, formal education, informal education, community education. Why do you exist? Why do you exist? For what is the purpose of being in existence? The purpose is developing skilled manpower, learned graduate, competent graduate, quality research, community development, etc. etc. Why do you accept? What are the organizational values? Teamwork, continuous learning, commitment, Indian spirit, etc. etc. How the organization is distinct from others. So you might be doing, especially working on vocational education, or you might be working in a tribal area, or your research may be based upon the agriculture, so you can add into that. So your mission must be very important. We have to go very strategically, and the way I have just given you one sample, you have to develop into that, because very importantly, that we have to understand that the mission statement tells you why the organization exists, who we are, what we do. It explains the basic needs that you fulfill, express the core values of the organization, and unique nature of you, your organization, and the role it plays that differentiate it from others. My dear professors, the mission and vision become important in the light of NEP 2020, because we are going to go for a collaborations. We are going to have a lot of collaboration for credit transfer, research, multidisciplinary education, and if mission is not matching, then there may be some hurdles, difficulty in going for those collaborations, cooperation, etc. etc. So we must have a mission based upon this scientific aspect. What is vision? What the organization want to be, what and when. Say for example, my vision is, now today my institution is in a tribal area or remote rural area, and just offering graduate courses, programs, sorry, graduate programs in arts, commerce and science. But my vision is that in coming 20 years, when so by 2040, say the institution will be a self-financed university focusing on rural research, tribal research, tribal skill development, and development of organic products and organic development of the community. This is a vision. What I want to become a university. Now I have defined my current status, where I want to go, because vision, what it says, how the organization wants to be perceived in the future, what success look like. Rural university, tribal university, focus on skill development, focus on enterprise development, focus on rural research, agricultural research, tribal research, developing innovative organic products. So how the organization wants to be perceived in the future, and expression of the desired end state challenges everyone to reach for something significant, inspire, inspires a compelling future, provides a long-term focus for the entire organization. See, my dear professor, with one example, just I have taken a dummy example and have tried to elaborate you and see how the leadership, when we say visionary thinking is important, this visionary thinking will percolate to the organizational member and we can really achieve or attain the successful future which is demanded, which is required. So vision and mission are important in the process and you must go in a strategic way. How do you define or design the mission and vision? I've just told you about the basic empirical definition of mission and vision. We'll quickly say, check with this what is the different model which are there. So how the strategic planning process, we talk about strategic planning, visionary thinking. Okay, many times we talk about this. We say that we have to strategically plan the curriculum. If you are going for autonomy, we have to very strategically plan your institution development. How we have to plan? I'm showing you one model. There are so many models. But why strategic planning? It is a process to establish priorities on what you will accomplish in the future. Why we always say go strategically? Because by way of strategic approach, you establish the priorities on what you will do and will accomplish in the future. Forces you to make choices on what you will do on and what you will not do. Otherwise, we are conducting any program, any activity. But if our priorities are well established, then we can do only these things which are aligning to your priorities. Push the entire organization together around a single game plan for execution. Everyone knows these are our priorities. We have to achieve this priority, this is the way we want to go. So entire plan, the set of priorities that you have defined, and also broad outline on where resources will get allocated, because we know resources are very important. Always we have a shortage, crunch of resources, so that how we can decide. And that's why strategic planning is very important. It might be a curriculum design, development and implementation. It may be institution development to an autonomy or changing a governing structure. It may be research or maybe anything for that matter. One model which I generally promote, there are so many models. One model which I'm going to generally promote is a strategic planning process. A, B, C, D, E model. A, B, C, D, E model. A stand for assessment, B stand for baseline, C stand for components, D stand for design to specific, and E stand for evaluation and monitoring. Let us see more in detail. This is a strategic planning model. You can take the photograph of this particular slide if required. Where we are, where we want to be, and how we are doing. It may be a curriculum reform, it may be going for autonomy, or going from autonomy to the university, or developing a research centers, whatever might be. Where we are, where we want to be, how we are doing, where we are, mission, where we want to be, that is our vision, and how we are doing is a monitoring the progress. So here assessment and baseline will tell you where we are. What do you do in assessment? You form a strategic planning group in your institute. One group is working on assessment and baseline. Members are from students, from alumni, from non-teaching, from teaching, and from the management. So we work on a document, a 5 to 10 page document on what is the origin of the institution, how this institution has started functioning, what was the purpose when the institution was established, since establishment till today, what are the different development phases. Earlier there were only arts, then you started arts and commerce, then you started arts, commerce, science and PG program, then you got NAC, then you started PhD center, etc., etc., etc. Then do the SOC analysis of the institution. What are the strengths of the institution? What are the weaknesses? What are the opportunities and what are the challenges? So a group will work on assessment on baseline. A 10 to 15 page document will be prepared. From the origin and purpose, you will be able to define what is the purpose of the institution. From the strengths and weaknesses, you will come to know what is the present of the institution. What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? From opportunities and challenges, you will come to know what are the opportunities, what is the future, what should be the goal, challenges, what should be our goal to remove the challenges. And from the development phase, you will come to know the values, why we get NAC, why we could get NAC, why we could increase the strength, why we could start different disciplines. You'll get values. And from opportunities and challenges, you will come to know what are the gaps in the organization. From the strengths and weaknesses, we'll come to know the gaps of the institution. Then we move to the third stage, see where we want to be component. So you define mission. From the baseline, purpose and present, you can define what you are, mission. From future, you'll design what is vision, what are the opportunities. So what is vision? Okay. Then for this mission and vision, and based upon your values, you will say what are the core values which require to be developed in the institution. To meet our vision and to follow the vision, what are our goals? Faculty training, recruitment, autonomy, etc., etc., etc. And then design to specific. Design the program, project, target, etc., etc. So, and then based upon this action plan, we have to go with the properly, regularly monitoring how we are doing. So, dear professor, actually, this is a 1 week training program on strategic planning, but I have covered in very small time. That's why I requested you to take a snap of this particular slide, which will help you to work in detail on this aspect. So, as a strategic planning approach, we'll have to follow these aspects into that. Now, next 12 minutes are left. Let us quickly focus few points before we close, which are significant in our discussion. Demonstrating the leadership, the core. We have to ask 4 questions to ourselves when you are demonstrating. What educational purposes should the institute seek to attain? Mission, vision. So, what educational purposes should the institute seek to attain? What educational experiences can be provided that are likely to attain these purposes very systematically and strategically? Do you want entrepreneurs? Do you want employment? Do you want research? You want people to go for a higher education? You want to focus on skill development? Based upon that, what educational experiences are required? How can these educational experiences can be effectively organized? Systematically we are going, and how can we determine whether and to what extent these purposes are being attained? So these four fundamental questions we have to ask when you are working on these all strategic planning or preparing for a leadership. And that's why here we require a outcome based education ecosystem. Mission and vision of the institute and department. Then purpose, what is the program educational objectives for which we are preparing? Program outcome, what competencies we are developing by at the end of graduation and post graduation, and at the end of every course what knowledge and ability we are developing, course outcome. So this is like micro to micro we have to go in developing the institutions also. So we have to have a good approach in enhancing the academic excellence, achieving according to one's abilities, developing diverse talent, and discovering one talents. And this is the way in which we have to go into details. Friends, I'm just skipping few which because already I have discussed this, and I will now quickly go. This already I have talked strategic planning, for which budgeting, organizational structure matters. Now the components of the management are academic program management, financial management, human resource management, research administration, and student affair management. All these you have to do along with the information technology management as well. And for the effective management, as we discussed, we require strategic alignment. We require to optimize the processes, and as discussed, communication and collaborations are very important. Not only that, we have to have a manage the performance, adapting and innovations are very much required when we go into that. And coming to the last presentation, that we need to use AI in governance and management of higher education. That is one, because when we talk about academic leadership or education leadership, it talks about the pedagogy, it talks about the instruction, it talks about the assessment. So you can have a more personalized learning, you can provide virtual assistant, and you can have a predictive analytics in your hand to deliver. So you can use AI powered adaptive learning platform which are tailored to content and based to the individual student needs. This is personalized learning AI tools are available. So you can use them. Not only that, through the chatbots and virtual tutors, you can provide 24 by 7 support to the student, answering their questions, guiding student through their academic journey. And obviously, the AI model can identify the risk student at early stage, and they can timely tell us what type of interventions are required to boost the retention and move him to the graduation. So you can use these aspect. Sorry. Even you can enhance academic and administrative processes. Automated grading is possible. Nowadays, I know that you must be using many institutions, many universities are doing digital answer book check. But now AI-driven grading system provide consistent, efficient, and objective assessment of student work. This is very important because the assessment has to be very consistent. Though you are giving it a digital assessment, but you find that there is no consistency many times. Okay, so even we can efficiency, and even we can see, are we measuring what we are supposed to measure? Objective assessment of student work. Even AI can help us to optimize course schedule, timetables, room assignments, and faculty timetables to making more and more maximizing their efficiency. You can do in admissions, and even you can do facility management as such. So AI powered building systems can monitor and optimize energy use, maintenance, and security of the campus facilities. So you can enhance use this by using the AI. When we go with the personalized learning and adaptive curriculum, diagnostic assessments are possible. Intelligent tutoring is possible. As we say, generally during the NAC, we used to say that slow learners and advanced learner. So the intelligent tutoring system will provide real-time feedback and adaptive learning path for the student. If they are slow learners, accordingly they will get real-time inputs. If they are advanced learner, they will get the input into that. So the even in the same way, if you have AI powered diagnostic tools, they will analyze students' prerequisite, their learning gaps, and they can tailor the content. Even we can optimize the curriculum by refining, optimizing the content, and so on and so on. So, friends, AI can be very properly used, and as we say, leadership role of the teacher, we have to. This is the last slide. This is the last slide. The teacher central role in NEP 2020 is that NEP 2020 envisions teachers not merely as a content delivers, but as academic leaders who drive curriculum reform, mentor students, lead research, champion equity, and build institutional culture. Every NEP mandate places the teacher at its operational center. So, academic inventor or innovator redesigns curriculum, integrate IKS, adopt technology, mentor and guide, research leader, and institutional builder. So, friends, from last 3 hours, we are deliberating and we are discussing on the different aspects of the academic leadership, education leadership that is essentially required in the today's context. I am very much happy once again to thank Dr. Dhanashri Mahajan ma'am, Dr. Rafe sir, and of course you all for joining this session. I'm sure you must have enjoyed this session. If there is some feedback, please give this feedback to Dr. Rafe sir. With this, if there are some questions, I will quickly address. I'll just check in chat box. Uh, okay, very informative session. Okay, okay. Acha. Then you have an attendance. Okay. Fine. Fine. If no questions, shall we say bye bye? Yes. It's 5:30 now, almost 5:29. Any question, any doubt? Thank you so much. So if no questions, we will take a call to you. Please, you must have taken few snaps of the slides. Please work on that. Thank you once again to one and all. Bye bye. See you.